a small group of thoughtful people could change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. That's a quote by Margaret Mead. Teams are very powerful because of the creativity and synergy that's possible when you work in a team. Teams are becoming more and more important for organizations today. Now let me ask you, how do you feel about working in a team? Is this something you look forward to or something that you dread? Either way, I'm going to talk about some pointers today that really will help you improve your teamwork the next time you serve on a team. There was some very interesting research that was done. Adrian Gostick and Chester Elton studied teams, many teams. In fact, it involved 350,000 people. They studied teams in all kinds of companies and all kinds of industries. What they discovered was that there was a single pattern that emerged regarding excellent teams. Excellent teams had certain actions that they engaged in. Today I'm going to talk about 3 of those actions: dreaming, believing, and taking risks. Let's start with the first action, dreaming. Nothing happens unless first a dream. That's a quote by Carl Sandburg. Leonardo da Vinci dreamed of flying. He drew blueprints of flying machines and he created models of flying machines. Even so, it was years and years before the Wright brothers actually took their first flight at Kitty Hawk in the early 1900s. Nikola Tesla dreamed about providing free energy for all of humanity. That dream has not yet been realized. But who knows, perhaps one day it still might be. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak had the dream that every single person would be able to have access to computers. They did pioneering work in creating the personal computer. At that time, only corporations and certain select people had access to computers. But because of their dream, we now enjoy personal computers today. When I lived in rural Arkansas on a farm in the 1970s, I had a dream. My dream was to live in a resort town with a cosmopolitan flair. I had no idea how this might come to be. As it turns out, I've had the good fortune of living in not one, but 3 of California's finest cities: San Francisco, San Jose, and San Diego. Wow, it happened! The next action I'm going to talk about is believing. The dreams we choose to believe in come to be. When you feel in your innermost being that you will achieve what you set out to do, you open the way for miracles. That's a quote by Nikita Koloff. In the 1990s, I decided to take up golf. It turns out golf is a very difficult sport. Not only that, but taking up something like that later in life really is hard to do. It looked like I definitely needed a miracle if I was going to be able to learn this. I worked and worked at it for 2 years, taking lessons and practicing, and it looked like nothing was happening. But I had that belief. Then eventually one day, I struck the ball, and it was airborne. Wow! It was at that moment that I knew that I would be able to learn to play golf at a beginner level. was that belief that sustained me through that. Henry Ford not only dreamed that every American family would be able to have a car, an automobile, he believed it. He actually started producing cars before he got the proper permission to be able to do it. If he had not eventually obtained that permission, he would have had to charge a royalty for every single car he produced, and this would have meant that cars would not be available to the ordinary person. So that belief is what moved him forward on that. Probably the best example that I can give you of believing in a dream is about David Sarnoff, who worked for RCA, who believed in electronic color TV. Before there was electronic color TV, there was mechanical color TV, which did work, but it did not have the potential that electronic color TV had. And David Sarnoff really believed in that technology. He believed in it so much that he persisted for 30 years to pursue that technology and to inspire his engineers to get it to work. And eventually, it did work. Finally, the last important action I'm going to talk about today is about taking risks. Unless you choose to do great things with it, it does not matter how much you are rewarded or how much power you have. That's a quote by Oprah Winfrey. Teenagers are noted for their propensity to take risks. They just have a feeling that they're invincible and they can do anything. Sometimes that is a good thing. When I was a teenager, my church group went on a canoe trip. We were in canoes and we were going down this stream, and we got to a point in the stream where it became a lot wider and a lot deeper, and it also turned out there was a mountain right next to that spot in the river. So we climbed up on that mountain and we dove down into that stream. That was risky, but we did it and it worked out. It's that feeling that's so important, especially when it comes to innovation. This next example is about the innovation, the iPod. If things went according to the way one would think they would go, the iPod would have been invented by Sony. Sony had exponentially more resources and more people than Apple had. Yet, they didn't do it. Sony had come out with the Walkman, another personal music player. It only seemed natural that they would have done it. They didn't do it. Another very interesting thing about what happened is that in 1997, when Apple started working on this, that very year, Apple lost $816 million. Whoa! Not the best time to be going into something new. The iPod was completely outside their business model. It was a different thing. Yet they did it. The people that worked on this, the team, was composed of individuals who had very specialized expertise. Not one of them had enough knowledge to create it themselves. It was because they worked together that they were able to do it. Another force that pushed them forward was their vision. At the time Apple started working on this, there were other MP3 players already on the market, so creating another music player would not have been that dramatic of an invention. However, Apple had this big vision about changing the way music was produced, heard, sold, produced, and consumed. Really, what they were doing was launching iTunes and iPod. A very bold vision to totally change the music industry. As you know, this was a huge success. They had a dream, they believed in that dream, but most importantly, they took the risk, they took action, and got it to happen. You can turn your team into a world-class team. Make sure you include these 3 key actions: dreaming, believing, and taking risks. Dreaming is key. Remember that every great achievement started out just as an idea first. Believing is so important because the degree of your belief is really the degree of your commitment. And you have to be committed to get success to actually happen. Finally, you have to be able to take risks. Nothing will materialize until you actually take the steps that will make it happen. When you and your team dream, believe, and take risks, you're able to tap into a reservoir of creativity and synergy that just would not exist otherwise. When you do this, you really do have the power to change the world for the better.